Hello and welcome to Geek at Play Studio tutorials. In these tutorials, I want to show how we can use altitude to mix our fractal terrains. So let's look in our function editor for the fractal terrain, and we're going ahead and open edit functions for this. So right here we have our fractal node. What's happening sometimes you want maybe mix them and you want to apply one fractal on one altitude and you want to use it another fractal for another altitude like rough and smooth areas. So let's go ahead, create another fractal. Actually, let's switch this to the noise node. So it's something different. We'll connect them together. And you can notice right here we have already some changes applied. And one way what some people do, users, and it's come up with the creators come up with this question. They say, well, I can have it filter and I can go ahead and filter right here, modify it. So it will apply only to one altitude. Actually, it's not necessarily will work this way. And reason is why, because let's see how our filter works. So right here we have our filter, and what's happening if you notice, the think about bottom line, it's our input signal from -1 to 1. In another case, if you like more visual representation, think about this as a gradients. So -1 is black and 1 is white. So right here we have our input. This one, it's a string of the signal we output. So it doesn't represent altitude we actually output. It's a displaying how much we change signal here and what we output. So for example, black, if we receive as -1, we output as -1. And white, if we receive as 1, we output as 1 as well. So in that case, I can modify, and example says, put it to the 0 and say, every signal what we receive as a black, don't output as a black, output as the gray. So let's look one thing right here. For example, here's our simple steps with gradients. So in one case, right here is a -1. Here's will be 1 on our filter. And when we import, we modifying how the string or what gradients of the gray will be output. However, it is representing an end to the altitude. So what's happening here next? Let's say at this point, let's have a small experiment. So we'll delete all of this. Okay, we'll go ahead, create image. We connect it to grayscale and let's load it. The terrain steps we'll just have. So, okay, if we click right there, you can notice we have our steps representing. So let's go insert filter. Okay, and now inside the filter, what I want to do, I'm going right here and I say right this point, it's about middle of the gray color. Now what I want to do, I want to take every from the black to this middle of the gray and change the output signal from the what they had before to everything to -1 to the black. So bring everything to same level. If we click right here, you can see now we actually remove, we filter out those values. We apply change to them. Same way, if you want it, you can actually go ahead and say, you know what, I want change everything on a white, on a higher, and change the values. So right here, you can see we remove it. Or for example, you can say, I want all of them bring to same value. So they all will bring to same value. Okay. And in some cases, you think it will apply when you start blending them. So let's see what's happening when we start work with blend. So we'll copy these ones. Okay. I also want to rotate a little bit so we have it in different directions. Next, we'll apply blending and we'll blend together them. Okay, right now you'll see how they mix together. So we have it one direction and a second direction blend together with them. In some cases, we can change to add mode. So in this case, we can see stronger how they will affect each other. Right now, if we're going inside filter and let's edit, what's happening if I'm go ahead and says, I want everything bring to that level. You notice we did a cut on an input one, but it's still affecting every level right here. So that our signal that we're passing from here, we actually almost like blend all those, no white, no different grades. We just take one of this gray and apply to every other level, but it still be in a blending mode applied to all altitudes of our terrain. So it will be same things when we try to apply effect and we'll say, hey, you know what, I'm cutting all those signals. The You actually blend them and it will still apply to another ways. So how do we can use this effect? For example, how we can use it, set functions so we can apply only to specific altitude of our terrain. And it's have it several ways we can do this. One way, actually, we can go ahead, you look on our blender, and when we look on our blender right now, you can notice it's have a 0 value, which is will take only value from this node and apply it, or we can have a value of 1, which is take everything value from him, from other one. All what we want to do right now is somehow control this radio based on altitude of our main node to which one I want apply this node. So let's do this way. We go ahead and we actually connect to our terrain. Let's use the grayscale. Okay, at this point, you notice it's still mixing. To control what is level, let's use for now threshold. Okay, and we'll just connect again. Okay, so what threshold does, it have our values that we can set, and it's set on what level I want actually switch. It's like a switch. So we'll set 0 and 1. And let's say we have a threshold right here, about 84, which is will apply only to the top. You notice we apply this effect that steps only to this level, to the white. So if we increase to second step, let's move slightly. Okay, maybe a little bit more. Okay, right here you can see we applied this to another step. And the same way we can move around and we can apply our effect to another level. In this case, we're using threshold. The only problem if we're using threshold, so let me go ahead and remove this one and we'll just create two different nodes, fractal and node. Okay, and we'll go ahead, connect this one to here, and we'll connect another one to this. Okay, as well, let's move threshold here so we can kind of observe a little bit clearer. Okay, at this point, what's happening when we're using threshold, you will notice we have the very sharp edges now because it doesn't very well blend together with our terrain. However, it does work. We do control now different fractals based on altitude we specify in our threshold. So other ways we can control this blender, it's by maybe using our filters. So let's remove filters from here where we have it and replace threshold with a filter. Okay. Inside the filter, we can specify, if you remember, oops, let me edit actually, what value we wanted, and we can specify. But the problem is right now what we have it, the value is coming from -1 to 1. And our blender, the radio show, it's accepting from 0 to 1. So other things what we need to add, it is a map. And we set in map right here as default 0 and 1 and input from -1 to 1. So it just fit perfectly in a way we wanted. Now as a filter here, we can start modifying this filter to what area we want applied. And you remember how we said this is your input from grayscale and this is our output. For example, if I want apply effect only to the top of our terrain, I need to just set this to the 0. In that case, you can notice right here we applied. Of course, we start having this sharp edge, but using a smoother or readjusting our terrain slightly, we can smooth this area very easy with our filters. And now you notice we combine them. We have it on a lower, we have it very smooth from our first terrain, and we apply based on altitude, whereas our second terrain will apply it. Very nice to using filters because you actually can insert some other points. And for example, say I want smooth right here, but I want my roughness on the other area. You can specify shape how you want your terrain mixed together. Or for example, if you want to apply just on the bottom of your terrain, we can go ahead and decrease this value here. Just let me. On that case, we'll have the roughness just on the bottom and smooth on our top. Okay, on this case, we can use our filter with a mapping and a blender to specify in which way we want to our terrain apply. And this is actually by using these are our main, think about this one node as your main shape and this node as the effects you want to apply to specific areas. The other things also you can look, you don't need just use it fractal. Fractal is very nice, but the problem what I find out sometimes, it's hard to predict in a way it will go how they lay out. But you can combine both best of the world. So let's create map, and I want just delete this one, and we'll switch back to projection map, and I'm going and load it. Just for example, this terrain river. Okay. Next, what you notice right here. Okay. Now we have our effect applied to lower resolution or lower level. So all what we need to do, go inside the filter again, edit. And for example, if I want my river smooth, but mountains right here a little bit more rigid. So I'm going to change. I'm going to increase. And again, I can do this as smooth as I want it. And now you can notice how we change already quite a bit. We apply it to the top, the mountains, and bottom will have it slightly. So we can also do a couple things. We can go ahead, maybe make right here a little bit smoother in a way. So with the filter and with the smoothness applied, we can make even with the bending so it won't be that sharp. You can see how we can really create very textures on some areas. So I'm applying the fractals just to this area right here on this altitude, and I don't want to touch shape of my river with my fractal. And this is maybe help when you start working with DAM images, because some of them will provide high resolution, but when you start importing a new application, you will have a problem. You can simulate with the overlaying on some altitudes on a shapes the fractal terrains. You can simulate those high detail resolutions. Okay, so let's go right now, switch back to this. Okay, let's just a little bit rearranging. So right here we have a little bit smoother edge. And you can see to some areas, even we still apply, it's going down, but here's our shape we just applied. Okay, other things also, even you apply one, you can always mix it. So we can create another blender here. Okay, and we can create another connectors like similar to these. Connect to this blender. Okay, on this point, we can just change the filter and say, hey, instead apply to the top. Actually, I want to okay, let me grab this point. It's sometimes hard to grab them. Okay, I want to apply to the top, to the bottom actually of my points, right here. So you can notice now we start modifying here. So you can mix those terrains if you want it. And again, okay, right here, let's set to this point. So right now you notice how we start mixing. We said I want to apply specific effect, like for example, maybe terrains, and let's set 25, 25, just pop up slightly. So we apply some this kind of effect, we twist it, maybe what water will do to the lower altitudes based on our filter. Okay, right here's our filter based on our filter. Okay, and on a higher altitude, we apply more rough type. So in this case, we actually start mixing best of all worlds of the precision that we can create with some image based and amount of details and realism with prestigious terrain. Okay, so a couple highlight points what I want to again just bring to the end of this tutorial. It is the filters. One thing, it doesn't control literally your height, it's control output signal on your vertical and your input on your horizontal. Again, if you prefer with a more visual way, think about this is a black, this is a white, lower or high level. Okay. And the same when you output, it is how you want output. If you put it black all the way up, you just inverse. You send the lowest point, it will be your highest point. Okay, and the same with the map. You remember we switch because they are a blender input and also how filter output signal. Okay, let's click OK. Let's click OK one more time. You know what? Maybe just increase scale. Here, take our camera, move it above our terrain. Here, and you know what? Let's little bit adjust sun. So we can see the better terrain, and let's render. Of course, we will have a little bit artifacts because I'm rendering low resolution. But this is give you some ideas how you can control it. Thank you for watching this tutorial from Geek at Play Studio. Please remember visit us on our web is www.geekatplay.com.